Hello everybody, welcome back to the WTF1 podcast, German Grand Prix edition.
Hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm Matt.
I'm Tommy.
And I'm Jess.
And my goodness me, do we have a lot to talk about. But
Yeah.
usually the boring ones are longer, so this one's going to be a 20-minute podcast.
Well, no, because when we were all putting the podcast sheet together, every time we thought we'd covered everything, we remembered something that happened and we were like, we haven't even put that in the sheet yet.
Yeah, this is a long sheet, but tuck yourselves in, strap yourselves in. We are going to go straight into some 3-word race reviews. So, that one guy from Romania, that's actually that person's username. Not enough words. J_TGR, best race ever. It's Jack Durr, perfect, just perfect. I don't think there was many negative race reviews, and if there were, how?
I think only from butthurt fans that maybe their driver didn't do so well.
Yeah,
but,
or unfair penalties and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah.
We'll get onto that. But my goodness me, shall we just bask in the glory of what was the German Grand Prix? We thought, the last two were pretty good races. Can't get better. It did.
It did.
It
That's
did.
why
lot.
my 3-word race review is God tier race.
God tier race.
Just because we've had so many good races, like had a couple in a row, and we've had a lot of good races since we've been doing this podcast. But for me, I've been watching F1 for over 20 years. I'm not old. And
Not 16.
Not 16. And genuinely, that is like top 5, I think, for me.
Top five.
Top 5
Ever.
It was that good.
What are the rest of your top 5?
Yeah, go.
Oh, really?
Oh, so I thought you were prepared.
No, I wasn't prepared. I was
Okay.
I mean,
okay. Can you think of any others that would be in that top 5 then, rather than going through them all?
Canada 2011,
Okay.
Brazil 2008. But the thing is, Brazil 2008 is one of those races, isn't it, where it was only good because of the dramatic title. The actual race itself wasn't particularly amazing until the end.
Well, I guess it's another race where, and I think we'll get onto this, where it's better when it's wet.
Yeah,
Because again, in that race, we had rain coming into play and affecting all kinds of things, and that was ultimately why Hamilton got the
better
title.
when it changes, not just
all the way
not
through.
just stays wet all the way through. I mean, a lot of people mentioning like throwing races out there that were the best, and the reason that made that race so good is because it was just changing all the time. No one knew what tyres to be on, and I think it was Donington 93 that everyone goes on and on and on about, where I think Senna won the race with 5 pit stops. And Max won that race with 5 pit stops. Hamilton did 7 pit stops. It was absolutely unbelievable.
It was a ridiculous race. You said that it's in your top 5. Benos Tom 22 says, how far back do you have to go to find a better race than that? Because you've put it in your top 5, but is there a race that you can think of in recent memory that was better than that?
Canada 2011, I think, is the last race that was as good as that for me personally.
And why?
And why?
Why Canada 2011?
Just because it
Just in
was
case people don't know.
so bonkers. It was the one where Jenson Button went right from the back. I think he again did about 5 pit stops, won it on the last lap. Another unbelievable race. But one thing I wanted to mention, and you put it on your Twitter actually, Matt, about Lance Stroll. The race was so crazy that Lance Stroll led the race with 14 laps to go. Every podcast we've done, we've been talking about how the midfield don't really have a chance and they can't get anywhere near the top guys. How many midfield cars, and every midfield driver seemed quite disappointed after the race. I don't know if you noticed that as well, because they were... Like Albon would normally be ecstatic with P6, but he had the demeanour of, I could have got a podium. Sainz was the same, that could have been my podium.
Yeah.
Stroll was the same, that could have been my podium. That was the chance for any midfield team to get that result. And
it was
Kvyat
almost
got on the podium. It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And I think it's just one of those cases where the only way to level the playing field is something to do with the weather.
Yeah.
Because it just proved that money can't buy you strategy.
Yeah. We were messaging during the race, weren't we? Because we were talking about when it was Hockenheim and Albon at that point that were in the top 5, and I think we were both saying, "Oh, well, Mercedes will get them in a lap." And
No,
Albon, I said
you said
no
Hamilton
way.
still got this.
Yeah,
and I'll admit I wasn't thinking that we were going to get the podium that we got, but I just kept thinking like this. I don't think Hamilton's going to be able to make up those places, you know, unless everybody else loses it because their tyres were gone. But they actually made the right tyre calls. I mean,
that's what made the race so good for me, was the fact that so many drivers were there mixing it up in the top 5. I actually wrote a few stats down. So in the last race at Silverstone, you only had 6 drivers that were ever in the top 5, which were unsurprisingly the Red Bulls, Mercedes, and Ferrari. People that spent at least one lap in the top 5 were Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Gasly, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Sainz, Stroll, Raikkonen, Kvyat, and Albon.
Yeah.
And if you've seen that graphic, quite a few people do them, and I will shout out F1 Visualized.
I watched that earlier.
Fantastic graphics where they, switch the.
It shows lap by lap where
lap.
they were. Yeah.
I counted 31 changes of the top 5 in a 64-lap race.
Jesus.
That's awesome.
Insane.
Did anyone else think though that the race went on forever?
Yeah, it genuinely felt like
it
was stressful.
It was
Genuinely was, because I think Hockenheim it's quite a short lap and it's not ever usually like a really long race. But you know, you looked at the lap counter. Oh, we're halfway. I genuinely felt like I'd been there
halfway, didn't it? And I remember thinking, this race feels really long, and it's halfway.
And
through.
it had laps reduced because of the additional formation laps that they did,
which was they were all kind of a bit thrown by that, weren't they? They didn't know whether or not they were actually formation laps. But I was just sat there like, they are. They can't just be like, no, these laps don't count. But you still have to, you know, the fuel still goes.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, I'm obviously very glad that they started the race under normal race conditions.
That was a great call.
Yeah,
I feel like they're making more sensible decisions for racing purposes at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, how many races in the past have we seen where you'll get the drivers that go, come on, we're ready to race, and then another 20, 30 laps go by behind the safety car where they don't let them go. But it was almost within 2 laps of the drivers saying, come on, we're fine now.
Yeah.
Got them on the grid, standing start, go.
And that was awesome, wasn't it? You know, because Verstappen again getting a terrible start, and you could just tell that the drivers didn't really know how to get off the line very well.
Well, they were saying there were so many people on the grid, so many drivers on the grid who had never driven an F1 car in the wet before.
Yep.
And obviously we hadn't had those conditions on Friday or Saturday. So they genuinely did not know how the car was going to feel, you know, how to manage it. Obviously they've probably all driven in the wet at some point over their careers. Be pretty lucky if you ever got through your career without driving in the wet. But that added an additional element in that you had a lot of rookies that this was their first shot at driving, and at Hockenheim, which is, you know, it's just one of those ones where you just kind of, you don't know how the track's going to behave. So yeah, that was just another element on top of everything else that was already going on. And obviously we'd had Saturday where Ferrari had completely just gone to
lost the plot.
pops.
Yeah,
pretty much forgot about that, of how
I know.
good the race was. Yeah, it was not even something I wrote down in my notes because it just seems,
you forget that Vettel
so
started
good.
last, Leclerc started 10th. You know, after a few laps, you wouldn't have thought there was that weird of a qualifying. Although we'll get on to Vettel on that, but we have actually mentioned about the strategy, which we'll kind of come back to, Jess, with your 3-word race review.
Yeah, so I actually couldn't decide which way I wanted to phrase this 3-word race review. So I've written down strategy is everything, but I actually almost think it's strategy isn't everything, because it was a case of, if you got the strategy wrong, you were basically.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, which Mercedes did.
But so much of it felt like chance, luck. You were in the right, when the safety car came out, you were in the right position on the track at the right time and you made the right call, which is part of strategy. But also people just taking punts. You know, Magnussen going on to slicks first and everyone going, you're a bit mad, aren't you, mate? And actually he probably was maybe a lap or two too soon. But once the tyres kicked in, it was at that point during the race, it was the right call, but then the rain came back. So it was almost like the strategist. I would not have wanted to have been a strategist on Sunday, because every time you think you've got it licked, something else happened and it completely threw off everything that you had to do.
It's funny that you said that because I was thinking the same, and obviously we'll go into it later, but ABCDEF1 was really difficult for me when I was looking through, because it was almost one of those races where the strategists were almost the stars, and the drivers that did well was mainly just being on the right tyre at the right time. And, you know, Stroll and Kvyat got into that position where they could challenge for a podium because they took a gamble.
But this is why I also wanted to say strategy isn't everything, because it's something that we've spoken about on previous podcasts before, but there are certain teams that seem to be too bogged down by the data. And so they will make calls based on numbers rather than driver intuition.
It's so annoying.
And
that's my
when
pet
it's
hate.
when it's wet like that, I think the only thing, well, you have to work so closely as a team, but so much of what you have to take on board is what the driver is telling you is happening on the track.
Yeah.
And so many times we've seen drivers make absolutely blinding calls of when to come in or when to switch strategy. They're obviously, again, like, it's not just them making the decision, it's the team going, yeah, okay, let's do that. Or, you know, them giving them information about where the rain is.
Or taking a punt, like you say.
Or taking a punt, or splitting strategies between drivers and kind of hedging bets. But there were a number of occasions, having gone back through kind of onboards, radios, and what people have said post-race, a number of times where the teams questioned the driver. Yeah. And it actually ended up being the driver was correct. I think it happened to Russell. Russell said that he was...
that in my notes. Yeah, he, you know, a Williams, surely
you've got to take a punt.
You've got nothing to lose. And Russell was... There's a team radio where Russell is pretty much begging his team to put slicks on. It's time for slicks. And he wanted to do it at the same time as Stroll. So, yeah, let's be honest, he wouldn't have ended up on the podium. He wouldn't have been able to keep that pace.
Points,
he might have finished 7th, 8th or something, which would have been unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing, as you say, you know, these teams like Williams that haven't scored a point or hadn't until that this race, why they didn't decide to pit under the safety car. I know, fair enough, it's a risk. Yeah. But I was surprised that only Stroll did what he did in the sense of taking the lead.
100%.
Like, I'm really surprised that there wasn't some other midfield teams that decided to take that punt. Although maybe they looked at Magnussen earlier on in the race and went, it didn't work that time. It might not work again this time. But in those kind of races, that's where you get the podium. That's where you get Toro Rosso up on that third step. So
back at the front, something that you were saying again about drivers, Lewis Hamilton was leading that race by about 30 seconds. Everyone put on, like, the front guys were putting on slick tyres, and Hamilton himself knew that it's not good enough for slicks. His tyres were fine. He had a 30-second lead, and there's many guys in Mercedes looking at a computer and going, no, you need slicks. Yeah. Put slicks on, and he bins it in the wall.
Yeah, and he questioned it the entire time. Yeah. You could hear him like going, I don't think this is the right call, guys. And then to put mediums on, that was for me what was crazy, because there was still, the track was drying out, but it wasn't dry enough to turn on a medium tyre.
That's the thing, and we saw that with Max Verstappen when he spun on the mediums as well. And it was almost like, as you say, with this whole data watching, with I think both with Red Bull and Mercedes, they've looked at it and gone, okay, it looks like it's going to now dry out from here on in. The softs probably won't get to the end of the race, whereas the mediums is probably a safer choice. It might be a bit sketchy in the first few laps, but let's take a punt. But then obviously it started raining again after that. And it's a weird one. You'd think that with Lewis Hamilton being such the driver that he is, that Mercedes may have just taken his word for it. But then Lewis then might, if it did go wrong the other way, then
wasn't he being applauded in the last race because he made his own call about doing a one stop?
Yeah.
And maybe he should have said, no, I'm staying out. I know what's best. I'm the driver, the one that's driving in these conditions.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it doesn't help that when they are Mercedes and they seem unshakable, it's amazing. We were talking about it before, that it seems that if Mercedes aren't winning or aren't in the lead, they don't know how to switch strategy to be damage control. It seems a bit of a flap all the time, or they start making like snap decisions and it's not worked, or it's just made them look clumsy.
I mean, we had last year the in team radio, which was the flappiest team radio I think we've ever heard.
And here we are again.
But that's the thing. When Hamilton went off, he went off, crashed into a wall, took his nose off, and then had the most hilarious pit stop
A minute
ever.
long.
A minute long. But he still could have won the race after that. He was still third, wasn't he, or something after?
I think he came out fifth.
He ended up back in third, though, at one point in the race.
Yeah.
I think that was,
And there was,
a prior pit
he
stop, but to be
have-
honest.
could have easily done it. And instead, he ends up finishing ninth.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And like you say, Mercedes, when it's not going their way, they just do seem to fall apart, which is pretty mad.
Yeah, and it's easy to obviously blame Mercedes for the strategy calls that they did, and they did mess up a lot. But you also have to say that Hamilton wasn't on his A game when it was those changeable conditions, because you did have other drivers on those tyres as well. It's not like he was the only one on dries. And I think this three-word race review, Essa.Racing, says Hamilton is human. And it was almost like a chink in his armour having that illness. You could just kind of tell that, when he was interviewed before the race, he seemed a bit lethargic, a little bit like, yeah, I feel pretty rough, but let's just see what we can do. Obviously, the first 20 or 25 laps, he was schooling Bottas, but and it looked absolutely fine. But I think that this was the race he didn't need, when it was just completely changeable conditions and not on his A game, and it was highlighted with a couple of pretty crucial errors.
I mean, he was... Was it luck? Was it the fact that he's good at controlling the car? Not sure. I think he was pretty lucky that he didn't.
It was very similar to
Charles.
Charles.
He did the exact same thing as Charles. Yeah.
My favourite bit.
Wasn't it a lap later?
Yeah, it was.
Because he almost hit Charles.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. My favourite bit of that is that when Charles is walking back from his car, if you watch it as live. Charles is walking back, and suddenly you hear the crowd cheer.
And he
Charles
thinks it's
looks
for
at the
him.
crowd and he's like, "Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate that." And they're all going crazy because Hamilton's just binned it in the wall.
But I mean, pretty dangerous. I mean, okay, I know we're going to talk about
the slippy boy later.
Yeah,
slippy boy.
Let's not get on to slippy boys just yet.
Yeah,
but there's a few other Mercedes talking points.
Yeah.
So we've got Max GR15Me says, "Are Bottas's title chances completely over now? Lewis has his worst race for years, and he still extends his championship lead. Hashtag Bottas bottle job." Did you write this one, Jess?
I didn't actually, no. And I did not pay anyone or tell anyone to tweet it.
Let us know, Max. But it's an interesting question, and you have to say that if Bottas had any chance of, you could say, having good fortune in getting himself back in the title race, it was this race of winning this one. Max was out there. The Mercedes was quicker in the dry, but Max took complete advantage of it. Bottas struggled to get past Lance Stroll.
That was amazing. I cannot believe that he wasn't getting past Stroll.
But then we've seen it a lot with the Mercedes just struggles to follow cars. They're not built to follow like the Red Bull is, and it's kind of, it showed with Hamilton as well, although he probably had quite a bit of a damaged car. But you have to say, Bottas, if that was his chance to at least get 18 points and really close the gap, because Hamilton scored 2. But he didn't, and
I think, as we said last,
let's see your opinion on Bottas.
I was just going to say,
grab the popcorn.
No, we said last year, or some of us said last year, that this race was a pivotal moment, and I think we're going to have that again. In that, I'm not sure how Bottas can recover from this unless Lewis has a series of terrible races, which could happen. But as we know, post summer break is usually when he seems absolutely untouchable. So he's either going to have to find Bottas 3.0 or just concede defeat again for this season.
After that race, I think you were saying it looked like he was almost in tears.
I think he'd been crying.
He was back to the Bottas that you saw after Russia when the team orders came out, where he just looked completely dejected. And what a time to bin it in the wall when you're doing well, when Toto Wolff recently announced that at the summer break we will decide his contract, him or Ocon, really. So,
and it's going to crush his confidence. I would be very interested to see how he turns up at Hungary. I don't think. I think that will be the turning point for his mentality.
Yeah, I think I hope for his sake that he brings it, as we keep saying, or I keep saying, I hope he brings it to Hungary, because if he doesn't, he's going to have a hard time. I'm not sure. I've said from the word go, I don't think Bottas will be in Mercedes long term, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if he will miss out on the seat for 2020. I've got a sneaking suspicion that they'll keep him on for 2020. I mean, it's funny. We haven't even talked about silly season, and I kind of don't even want to talk about silly season just yet. But it's one of those things where I feel that do they want to take a punt before the 2021 regulations come in and everything's new, or do they just want to keep it safe? Because as we've said before, he's a brilliant teammate for Hamilton because he's not
challenging like Rosberg, and if Mercedes have the advantage like they had at the start of the season, they're quite happy for him to keep picking up second while they're a superstar driver that is the sort of, like you say, the mega star of F1 picks up all the championships and wins. So
it depends exactly what Mercedes are looking for. You know, if they want someone to come and almost ruffle Hamilton's feathers a little bit, then I don't think they will. But you know, that it really does depend on how Bottas performs, as you say, in Hungary. And because if he starts crashing and making loads of mistakes, I mean, he had a terrible at Hungary last year. So
exactly.
And Max is really closing in now.
And you know, it's a scary thought that Max actually is somewhere within this title fight.
I love it. I love it because at the beginning of the season, everyone was so dejected and just thinking this is like Mercedes' most dominant season ever, and we thought 2014 was bad, but this is, or 2015, whenever it was, they were super, super dominant. It's good. I'm glad. It's really exciting, and kind of, even if it is just for second place, even if that's the thing, if Hamilton runs away with it, which I don't think he will, but if we can have races that good, I don't.
That's the thing. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You know, everyone's raving about Formula One at the moment, even though Hamilton still has a 60, 80, whatever point gap.
Well, don't forget, after France, everyone was going, this is BS and I hate F1.
And us, admittedly.
And us. Yeah. But again, everyone keeps saying, oh, you guys going to shut up now about how F1's broken. But the point is that when you have a level playing field, which is what the rain does,
exactly.
Because that's the thing. When it's raining, and I love it, I think everybody is a fan of a wet race, it levels the playing field because it is completely down to driver skill.
No.
I would say it massively increases. It massively increases the need for you to have an absolute stellar driver. Obviously, as we saw at the beginning of the race, like the Red Bulls bogged down and had no grip off the launch. So that's a car-driven thing, but they made up for it because, well, one of them did.
Yeah,
Max did because he is super, super skilled at controlling that car and racing. So, and you could see like everybody was struggling, and it was amazing. I think they said it on the commentary. It was amazing when you could go on the onboards and see them wrestling with the cars because they just had no grip. They had almost no aids, nothing. The car was not acting like it does in the dry.
It's funny that, because I was saying that at the start of the race, that it's funny that they're making these cars as quick as they possibly can, and it's so incredible. It's like an amazing piece of engineering to watch them fly around the circuit and break lap record after lap record. But watching them
go 20
bootle
seconds
around
lap
at
slower.
20 seconds a lap slower is so much more exciting, and proper gets like your heart racing when you're watching them
Perez
racing
said it.
side by side.
Perez said that, right? When we spoke to him in Silverstone, he said, I really don't care how fast these cars can go. And it's almost, for me, I'm always like, how much faster can they get? And what actually does that give or achieve? Like, it's super, super cool to see cars flying at high speeds, but what are we watching this for? Are we watching this for quali? Are we watching this for race? Personally, I'm not watching for race. So, yeah, I would much rather see races like that where everyone's slower, but they're having to properly go at it to finish. And that's just a perfect example of it.
Speaking of Mercedes and how bad everything got over the race weekend, it was filmed not only by Formula One cameras, but also Netflix as well.
Yikes.
Of all the races to film at, obviously they had a reason with it being 125 years and all that good stuff, but
fancy dress.
Oh, that's going to be spicy.
I love the fact that both, obviously last season for the Drive to Survive series, Mercedes and Ferrari were the only team to say, bugger off, we don't want a part of this. And then this series, obviously off the back of how much good press most of the teams got from having been part of it, and how much it put spotlights on unassuming characters like Gunther Steiner coming out as an absolute legend. They said, okay, maybe we do want a bit of this, but
only one race where we completely
only at
screw
our
up.
home race where we're celebrating 125 years of Mercedes in motorsport.
We're going to dress up nice. We're going to look great for the cameras.
You can have all the behind the scenes access with us all week, because guess what? We're throwing parties and we're having a good time, and you're going to see how amazing Mercedes is. Yikes.
I'm just looking forward to when they're trying to do like the deadpan serious crisis talks with conversations when they're all dressed as the Peaky Blinders. And they're all like Toto Wolff's there like, this is unacceptable, while he's got like a flat cap on at a time.
And suspenders.
It's so funny.
But he did, I mean, I felt really bad. Obviously, this was pretty soon after everything could not have really have gone worse, other than maybe... Actually, I almost think if they'd had a double DNF, it would have been better than Lewis finishing as low down as he did. But he came out and said that it was a mistake. He basically said that this whole dressing up and all this like fluff and celebration was a complete mistake.
Took people off the ball a little bit.
And it distracted people. Now, is that a fair comment? I'm not sure it's a fair comment.
It's that mufti day at school, though. You do lose a little bit of concentration.
Maybe,
Well, do you remember
but still,
in
like...
FP3, Hamilton was complaining about his gloves. He was like, just give me the proper gloves. I don't care
Oh, yeah,
about
that's true.
this.
They didn't fit, did they?
Yeah, and, you know, maybe there was
Maybe they just went a little bit
bit
OTT.
of it, but I don't think it would. I think it's just an excuse afterwards.
It was a really, to be honest, I really enjoyed seeing it. Like, but maybe they didn't need to go quite as far as they did. I mean, they sponsored the race.
They definitely did it because they felt they were going to win. Like, did you see their social post after when they got a 1-2 in qualifying and a 1-3 in qualifying, and they did the old like fashion newspaper?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing was ready to do the social post when they win.
Well, I mean,
which they've won pretty much everything, so they expected to win.
It's almost karma a little bit.
That's what
I think
Toto himself said.
They said, like, I believe in karma, and I think this is karma. But yikes, like, if that was your idea, if it was you that managed to get him into 1950s dress, and then he comes out and says, like, you're the entire reason why we lost this race.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would not.
It's pretty savage, and I don't think it's particularly fair.
I agree.
I thought it was a really cool idea, and it did look really nice. You know, new livery for a race and everything like that.
The livery grew on me.
Yeah.
When it first came out, I was a bit underwhelmed, but as you pointed out, and this is something that they really didn't make a big deal out of, but the reason why it was the half and half and the scraped off paint, they didn't talk
people
about
were very
it.
confused by it and were like, it's scratching off the wrong way. Like some people were like, it's the wrong way round, and
it wasn't, because obviously it was harking back to how they became the Silver Arrows, which is when they removed paint to make the car lighter, and that's how they became the Silver Arrows. It's actually a really cool story and a really cool take on it.
But no one really got
it didn't land, really. But cool. I'm glad. I love one-off liveries. I think we're all fans of
yes,
liveries. Anyway,
especially car launch liveries. They're the best. When Red Bull do it, tease us, and then don't do anything different. Even though you're very much against that, Tommy. But we won't get onto that. Let's go on to my 3-word race review, because I've been waiting very patiently to talk about this. Well, not just Charles. It's a lot of people that unfortunately came victim to this. So my 3-word race review is more ice rinks.
Yeah.
Now,
you're a fan of it.
I'm a big fan, huge fan. I think it should be around the entire track. Although, to be fair, it's only in wet conditions that we had that. If it was dry, as I think Hockenheim mentioned, it's fine. It's normal grip.
Yeah,
but
although they just have to soak it with water before
have the sprinklers on there.
And
oh
slide.
my God! I mean, that's maybe creating artificial action just slightly.
No, it's not.
It's on the runoff. It's basically a really over the top wall. I mean, it is a bit Takeshi's Castle, but
yeah, that's what I mean. It's just sliding along.
Bit Mario Kart. But we've said it before. Track limits should be track limits, and if you make a mistake and you go off, you should be punished.
I mean, Charles and Hockenheim both were sort of laying into it a little bit, saying it was unacceptable, and I don't really like it. But
of course you'll say that, because you were the one that fell victim to it.
One thing that amazed me with Hockenheim, though, is I can't remember if this was his interview for Channel 4 or on the Paddock Pass YouTube video, but he said that when he put a wheel on the Turn 16 Slippy Boy drag slip, he said he had no idea that it was that bad. I cannot believe after 4 cars went off that every single engineer wasn't telling all their drivers saying, don't even put a millimetre of your wheel on that curb because you are in the barrier and you're a passenger.
Unless you're Carlos Sainz, in which case you're a very lucky
out and
man.
then finish 5th,
Mad.
which is crazy. But another funny thing about that, slightly related, but the Daniel Ricciardo video of everyone stuck in the elevator, did you see that everyone in the elevator retired?
Everyone?
Well, not everyone, but every person that retired was in that lift.
That's incredible.
It was Leclerc, Lando, Bottas, Perez, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo were all in the lift.
All the retirees were in the lift
as well, yeah.
Amazing.
You said Perez twice.
Did I say Perez twice?
Perez
was in there twice.
Perez and Sergio.
So a few 3-word race reviews. Showmaker Lucas, slippery drag strip, and Tillman.Worth, drag strip is slippy. I think I can understand the driver's frustration a little bit in the sense of they weren't aware that was going to do what it does, if you see what I mean.
They weren't prepared for it to happen.
I'm completely for drivers being punished for going off the track, but I understand their frustration and the fact that they've gone off the track and that's it.
Yeah, but that's not true because Charles made that mistake 3 times before he crashed on the 3rd time he did it. He did it twice before and he was lucky because he wasn't going as fast, I don't think, and he managed to keep it. But learn. And I know it's all, you've never driven an F1 car, what do you know, Twitter voice. But surely again his engineers must be saying, Charles, do not
get off that
curb. You're going to get some understeer or your back end's going to kick out. So just take your time through turn 16 because otherwise you are going to bin it. And lo and behold, you binned it. Yeah. I don't buy it. Like I can't get on board with someone going, it's unacceptable when you've made the same mistake 3 times. And I think Hülkenberg, I'm not sure Hülkenberg made the same mistake. But as you said,
that's the thing, we don't see it in Formula 1. Like they could have made that mistake 15 times, but we kind of struggle to keep up with all that action.
So much we didn't see that we're now only seeing.
I think Hulk clearly wasn't told because he accelerated when he went on that.
Yeah, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, he literally went off and was like, oh.
But they spoke about how the different, again, it comes back to driver skill. The different drivers handling, I think there was a point where it was Leclerc and he lost the back end, went into a full-on skid. Again, this was around turn 16. So, and he completely saved it by letting go of the steering wheel, taking foot off accelerator and brake, allowing the car to catch itself and then catching it and going. And that's how you save a car.
Yeah.
Whereas they were saying Hülkenberg just hit the brakes and that just sent him into a full-on skid. And you ain't coming back from that, mate. So it's interesting to see how the drivers
reacted to it. Yeah, it's almost like some were maybe informed better than others, but then Charles did that and then didn't work.
Or just have natural skill.
Yeah, and wow, that's.
I mean, everyone.
To Hulk.
You were saying that everybody in the entire Twitterverse jinxed Hülkenberg.
Well, they did.
Oh, Hülkenberg. I mean, that is 4th, 5th race where a midfield car. There's been, it happened in Baku. He binned it.
Yep.
Brazil 2012 when he was up there with Force India, he binned it. Every time he's there to take that opportunity. Yeah. Look how many times, I know Perez crashed, but look how many times before that Perez has
taken that opportunity.
And he's got 4 or 5 podiums.
And I think I said that in IBR as well. I said, Hülkenberg has put himself in these situations where he could get a podium and it hasn't happened for any of the times, which I think just kind of shows how he almost wants it too much.
And it's his fault. It's not like an engine failure.
It's not an engine failure.
Yeah, exactly.
He rips the suspension off in Baku and, things like that where it's a genuine driver error. Again, turn 16.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd love to see him on the podium, but at this stage, I don't really have too much sympathy because it just seems like he doesn't have it within himself to get it over the line.
Well, it's either that or, as you say, he gets in his own head and then can't complete.
Maybe if the team told him he was in 7th, which he loves.
Don't tell him.
He loves a P7. So just tell him if he's leading, you're in 7th, and then he'll be like, okay, cool. Then he'll finish, and then he'll win the race.
It's either P7 or he crashes, and whenever I see a Renault, I'm just like, that's crashed or come off or something's happened. I'm like, hey, that's Hülkenberg, and it always is. It always is.
So yeah, obviously we had Hamilton go off there as well. We had Sainz. We mentioned Hulk, Kimi Kimi went off and saved it
saved
just
it.
about, didn't he?
Kept it on the wall.
I did find it funny how there was the Mercedes branding fell on Leclerc's car. Like it's almost like it was just kind of like sucking him in, like, haha, welcome. This is the Mercedes corner now. But yeah, I loved it personally, and I think there needs to be more like that, where it completely punishes the drivers, because that makes for awesome entertainment.
We had it in Austria too, right? Like that's how it should
Those
be.
curbs, yeah.
And if they don't want a drag strip, Slippy Boy, then just fill it full of gravel.
That's why the race was so good, because people made mistakes. It feels like it's Formula One. You don't really see
it's just perfection,
many mistakes.
Isn't it,
like all the drivers are so perfect.
It's over-engineered.
Exactly. But when you have, like we've keep saying, human element to it, and humans make mistakes, it's better.
Goodness me, there's so much going on in this German Grand Prix. We've probably missed about half of what went on.
Could do a podcast on every driver, I think.
Genuinely. Yeah. I mean, ABCDF1's going to be a struggle. So thoughts on Sebastian Vettel's race, who we haven't really spoken about apart from his qualifying. At Sir_Ian_ on the Sky Sports broadcast after the race, Paul di Resta classified Sebastian Vettel's race as nothing special. Can someone please explain to me what Seb did to these guys on Sky F1? It's painfully obvious that they're so willing and ready to put that man down at every chance.
I think that's slightly unfair on Sky F1.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Sorry, no, I think I was sat there going, this is a mediocre race for Vettel for at least half. In the rain, Ferrari was mediocre. Vettel had a great start, picked up about 6 places, and we're like, oh, Vettel's flying through the field. Then he just got stuck in like 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
And despite all of the incredible strategy changes and people coming into the pits, out the pits, he still stayed around 9th place. And we were kind of like...
people like Albon and Hulk and Kimi and Magnussen in the top 5, but he wasn't there until the very end.
Exactly, especially when it started to dry out. We then saw the Ferrari's pace was really, really good in that sort of drying conditions.
I mean, it's a difficult one to... You can't begrudge him for essentially keeping it on the track, because
he didn't last year.
That's what he needed to do. And Hamilton didn't keep it on the track, and Hockenheim didn't keep it on, and Charles didn't keep it on the track. Vettel, to be fair, like, di Resta isn't wrong, but I don't think anyone was particularly special in that race. They just stayed out of trouble, although Vettel didn't, because on the last lap, which people may not know about, he lost it on the very last lap at the Mercedes grandstand, ran wide, and Kvyat almost got him, which imagine if they'd cut to that at the end.
Oh, would have been absolute scenes. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a fair point saying it's nothing special, but I think obviously we don't know inside Vettel's head, but it seems like it was a measured performance from him, where last year
he was just a mature drive.
And he's gone, right, these are changeable conditions, I'm coming through the field, I'm sure Ferrari weren't particularly eager to do some ridiculous strategy either.
Yeah.
So it was a measured performance from him, and it ended with him finishing in second. So I'd say it's a great race from him.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
It wasn't like, oh, Vettel flying through the field.
No, it wasn't like Max, who absolutely bogged down and lost the start, span, made and crazy strategy calls, and then managed to win the race. Like that is an amazing race. Yeah. Whereas, as you say, like Vettel just kind of kept it steady, which is good. And you can't he went from 20th to 2nd.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't do that by doing something wrong.
Exactly, but that's it.
Drive.
I think maybe just amongst the craziness that went on, it paled his race into slight insignificance. It's still significant, and it's good, and it should be a good confidence booster for him, hopefully going into Hungary, because he was having a bit of a run of awful form. So I think nothing special is probably
a bit harsh,
but good.
Yeah, it wasn't a standout drive. It potentially wasn't driver of the day if you were going to look at it as an entertainment perspective.
But there was almost too many people.
Drivers. Every driver that finished could have got it, apart from maybe Russell
and Hamilton.
Unfortunate. Yeah. So let's discuss we've spoken about Verstappen, we've spoken about Vettel. Let's talk about the other person that finished on the podium, Daniel Kvyat.
Daniel Kvyat.
Daddy
Kvyat. Daddy Kvyat.
Wow. So we've got a few questions. Orion_Jet. Will Dr. Helmut Marko do the Uno reverse card with Daniel and Pierre? And did him and Red Bull rush Pierre Gasly to promote him from Toro Rosso?
No,
I don't think it was a rushed decision at all.
They had to do it.
Yeah. As we've spoken about in other podcasts, they don't have a wondrous selection of drivers that they could just pick from and go, this one's doing the best. They were genuinely like, okay, Pierre, you've done pretty well in Toro Rosso. And I think not many people questioned it. They were like, yeah, I think he's deserved his shot. And he's had it now. I think he's had his shot, hasn't he?
He's blown his shot everywhere.
Yeah. Wow. Kvyat, sorry.
Yeah, he messed up.
Shot.
Okay, Jacob Ashworth, 9. If you have a child, doesn't it make you slower?
Well, that's typically what happens, isn't it?
But Kimmy's faster.
I felt a little bit emotional after that when he was like, the whole race was just amazing. And then he was like, oh, my kid was born last night as well. I was like, can this race have any more amazing stories?
I know, right?
It's just crazy. But yeah, Gasly, yikes. But
let's talk about that incident quickly, Gasly and Albon.
Yeah, because that was
big yikes.
Poor. Didn't you have? I think Gasly wasn't aware that you have to turn a steering wheel more to get around the driver. Albon moved slightly, but you have to go around him, and it's not really an overtaking spot anyway.
Desperation, I think.
Desperation. He's not comfortable in that car at all. You can tell.
Although he said afterwards that he was.
Yeah, but Max is leading the race, and he's struggling in P14, and Albon overtook him about 3 times in that race, didn't he?
We don't have the benefit of being able to watch every driver's race from start to finish, but Pierre Gasly dropped to almost last, or if not last, right at the beginning, pretty much, and
he finished last.
Yeah, and he finished.
Right,
I mean, he couldn't finish, but
yeah.
And he kind of had that sort of middle stint where he got back up to P5, and it was a pretty decent race from there. You go, okay, fair enough. He had a very poor start, came back through, but I'm interested to see if Albon didn't turn his steering wheel at all. I think he'd still run into the back of him. I think he'd have ripped his front left off.
I think Gasly does need to be demoted back to Toro Rosso, and I don't think, in a savage way, I just don't think it's helping him having the spotlight on him every race because he's in that Red Bull and because Max is performing ridiculously well at the moment. It's making him look even worse. But he can learn from what Kvyat's done, because even if he does get demoted, which I think he should do, I think he should just have some time at Toro Rosso, even if it's 4 races and switch him back, for him to get his confidence back. And Kvyat has shown that it's not the end of your career if you do take a step back.
No, he got demoted, kicked out, come back, and
got
looking
podium.
Potentially as now one of the favourites to get back to Red Bull.
Could anyone have imagined that Kvyat would get a podium for Toro Rosso before Gasly got a podium for Red Bull?
That is nail in the coffin, I think, when you're Dr. Helmut Marko. We'll see how that one unfolds, I suppose. Now, we have another interesting topic. So many interesting topics. This one is about penalties.
Yeah.
So, Leclerc, it was a stonewall unsafe release. There was no... that was as dangerous as it gets, really, apart from colliding. And he was given a fine. Now, Lars Bevers says, why did the FIA race officials give Charles Leclerc a fine and not a 5 to 10 second penalty, like Max Verstappen in Monaco? Kind of strange to me why this is different than Monaco.
I think that's exactly the point. It wasn't consistent. And
they have explained it.
Tommy, have they?
They have explained.
Go on, Tommy, give us the explanation.
No, the explanation is that while it does seem harsh, the reason for it that Max got the penalty was because he crashed into Bottas.
Oh, because that's it. It wasn't the unsafe release.
Yeah. If you watch Silverstone and you watch Verstappen come out the pits with Leclerc, that's a little bit marginal, and they don't give it. And I think genuinely they're being more lenient on those things. It is a little bit of a tough one because that has always been a penalty. And when I initially saw the fine, I was like, this is a bit awkward. I think they don't want to give Leclerc a fine. Don't want to give him a penalty because he's coming through the field to fight the Mercedes, and they're a bit like, well, we don't want another Canada on our hands here. But I think that's the genuine reason for it is that Max got that penalty because he hit
That's
Bottas.
a really good point. Yeah, it wasn't for unsafe release.
So they're not the same. They're not
the same instant, and they have clarified that, and that's good. I like the fact that the FIA have come out and said this is the reason for it.
End of story.
Accept it. Done.
Move
Can
on.
we have that more, please?
But then it doesn't help that the next penalty that came along was deemed to be unfair, which was the Hamilton 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
So Hamilton got a 5-second penalty when he crashed and then cut the inside part of the pit entry and didn't go around the bollard as.
So I guess the argument is
he
you're supposed to, but he couldn't have done it because he was already off the track.
Yeah. If he'd have gone round that way, he would literally be driving in the wrong direction.
He'd be going against traffic, which is more dangerous. Or he'd have tried to limp the car back around to the pits if he'd have made it that far, potentially dragging debris, whatever else that was damaged with the car and putting drivers more at risk. I guess, though, the other argument would be, which is...
Don't crash.
Well, that, but also
rules.
You retire the car.
Yeah.
If you can't make it safely back to the pits under the regulations, you retire the car. So...
I think it was fair, personally. I think it was a fair penalty.
Yeah.
The rule is there. You've crashed. You cut it, fine. You get a 5-second penalty, but that's better than going round and losing 30, 40, 50 seconds.
He didn't get a penalty for his in situation.
Because that was him going out of the pit lane and they hadn't written a rule for that.
Which is, sorry, I'm getting flashbacks to last year's podcast.
It's so funny though, but it is funny that it's happened. The same driver
in reverse.
Going in and out.
Now, there was a part of the question from Geta Bushishan that said, I know that it probably made the race that much more interesting to watch, but surely it was a touch harsh given the conditions. And there was that question. I think the Sky commentary posed it to whoever was the team principal chatting to them. I think it was Gunther Steiner, potentially, who was the chosen team principal to talk to during the race. And they were saying about the conditions and whether or not it's fair or not, And then Gunther was like, why should the rules change considering the conditions?
The conditions are different.
The rules 100%. Are the same.
Yeah. If anything, they should be harsher when the conditions are like that because there's more likelihood of an accident.
Harsher? Oh, okay. That's...
They should know. But this is why I don't think the fine was right, because that was an unsafe release. And the teams would go, but when else do you have like 15 cars coming into the pit lane? But that's even more reason for the guy that's in charge of releasing the car into traffic to be more vigilant. You can't just go, and then go, sorry, it's because we were so confused and there's so many cars going on and there's so much going on in the pit lane, I couldn't see properly. Bullshit.
I think the problem. I think the problem with that as well is that. I'm pretty sure we've discussed this in another podcast. One of the reasons why you can't just give a fine, because the argument has always been, well, it's the team's fault. It's not the driver. They lift the lollipop. It's not a lollipop anymore, but hit the green light and the driver goes, and it's not the driver's fault that they drive out the pit lane and there's someone there because the team decide when they go. But then teams would just go, all right, we'll take a fine.
But then the
Alphas.
So both Alphas got a 30-second time penalty put on post-race
wasn't
for the torque anomaly, which basically meant that Dan was explaining to us yesterday. I can't remember what exactly it was, but it's essentially that they had the torque wasn't delivered in. This is going to make me look really silly because I've not looked it up beforehand. But basically, they weren't meant to.
It was mismatching. The data was mismatching, wasn't it?
Yeah. So they both got time penalties, but technically that's the team's fault, not the driver's fault. Why is that the driver's fault?
Yeah.
So that's the team's fault for giving them a car that was illegal or had illegal settings on it. So why was that a time penalty and not a fine?
But then you'd argue that the Williams could just put like rocket ship engine on the car and then go, my team did it.
But this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
So
it's such a grey area.
And a fine for Ferrari means bugger all.
Exactly. It's not a penalty, is it?
It's not a penalty. So why are
They're just going to release every single time?
Whenever they want.
50 grand, that's all right. We'll win the race.
Yeah, exactly that. They've got less to lose by performing unsafe pit exits than they do from operating within the rules, which is just it's not right. A fine is meant to be there to deter, but it's not a deterrent for the big boys. For
Williams, they're like, geez.
Yeah, like, please no more. No. This is like literally a week's worth of R&D.
Sorry, George, you can't have dinner today.
How much was the Ferrari fine?
Do
you know?
Good question. I'll look it up now.
Look it up. Jess with her stats will have a look at that. And
Jess with her internet.
While she does that, let's talk a little bit about. Well, we have talked about Max, haven't we? But Alpha, we've kind of mentioned their penalty and stuff. But Raikkonen obviously had an unbelievable race.
€5,000.
Is that it?
That was it. €5,000.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that's unbelievable. We now move on to our favourite time of the week / race week. It's ABCDEF1. Did you just talk through my jingle?
No, I didn't. I need to make an announcement.
What's the announcement?
Someone sent us a ABCDF1 jingle.
What?
Oh, yes. I think we heard this. Go on. Play it for the...
Let me find it.
Oh, my God.
You're
You're not
I've
even
got
ready?
it. I've got it. I need to shout out the name. 'Cause it's only fair, isn't
God,
it?
Just play it.
Mitch from netmonkeys.nl.
It's time for ABCDF1.
How good is that?
Hey, well,
Thank
let's
you so
dive
much
straight
for
into
that.
That
it.
is
Well done, Mitch. That
amazing.
is fantastic
So
jingle.
Thank you so much, Mitch.
We're going to now use that from now on. Thank you so much. Right, ABCDEF1. Let's dive straight into the race order. So we're going to go...
Oh,
with-
God. Okay.
No.
Okay, so first up, we are going to go with Max Verstappen.
A.
Hey,
Hey,
Got to be, hasn't it?
yeah.
can I just say your Instagram post warmed my heart, saying
The one
he's
where
best
actually-
driver in F1.
Yeah,
I
and
like that.
people genuinely got butthurt about it.
How?
They were like, oh, well, he hasn't even got a pole yet. And I'm like,
He's not got a pole in the third best car.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I don't think he's the best. He will be the best.
right now,
No,
he is the
right
best.
now in F1, he is the best driver.
You think
in F1.
Hamilton?
This season, he's the best.
I mean, Hamilton can be argued as being on par with Max Verstappen.
I don't think.
What? No,
Sorry.
Max Verstappen is on par with Lewis Hamilton.
That literally does exactly the same thing.
No, it's not. Because you're saying... No, you're not. You're saying it the other way around.
No, I'm not. No,
Sorry, I'm saying this season, not
Yeah.
not over like past achievements.
Yeah,
'cause
that's exactly what I'm saying.
You can't compare what Verstappen has achieved compared to what Hamilton has achieved.
Yeah, this
but if
season.
you just say, if everyone started this season, you said who's the best driver in F1, you'd say Max Verstappen.
Okay.
or Hamilton.
Or
I'll give you
Hamilton.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, Sebastian Vettel. A.
Yeah.
Wow, 20th to second. I know
But as
he
we've
didn't have.
just
He didn't have a
But he
blockbuster
didn't-
movie of a race,
But it was so solid.
A. So solid
solid.
crew.
so solid. Vettel.
21
All right.
seconds.
Well, I'm going to get outvoted for most of these, I think, anyway. So why
It's
don't
because
we...
it's usually one grade lower. We're like
bother?
that. Yay!
I expect a lot from my F1
what can
drivers.
Vettel do more but win the race?
Well, turn up when it wasn't his fault. So qualifying was not his
Savage.
fault.
His car didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, you could have
Could've
fixed it.
Could have
Why did
pushed
he push it round?
Yeah, Lewis
Come on,
pushed
Bill.
it last
Run the
year.
track.
So what's the point?
Yeah,
No,
that's
okay,
true,
all right, an A.
Okay.
Okay.
Daniel Kvyat.
A.
Dar? You got to throw that in the
His
mix.
pace was unbelievable
Yeah.
at the end. To
And
be
he
fair,
made the right calls.
yeah,
You got to throw that in
he
the
was
mix.
2 laps away from
But better than
beating
Max?
Vettel to second.
What can Kvyat do more?
Yeah,
In your eyes.
Yeah,
Was that not the stellar performance in a Toro Rosso?
But it wasn't really until the
so
end
difficult
that it was
because
like,
it's-
oh, okay, here
you
we
just
go.
want to give. Can we
Whereas
just give it out
Max
to the
entire
race
time-
strategists instead? Just ABCDF1 of race strategists.
Yeah, but how much of it? We
Yeah,
don't know how
exactly.
much of it was
Yeah, yeah,
strategy
yeah,
and how
yeah.
much of it was Kvyat. So I don't know.
A.
I can't.
Okay.
I couldn't give Kvyat a higher rating than Verstappen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fair.
All right.
A.
A stars for both Verstappen and
Yeah, well,
Kvyat.
yeah, fine.
let's go, let's go for it.
Let's upgrade them all.
No,
Upgrade.
Verstappen didn't get pole. Otherwise, yeah. Okay. And Verstappen spun. You can't give him a
Yeah,
star.
yeah, true.
Lance Stroll. A.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He drove well under
He drove
pressure against
well.
Bottas.
Yeah, he had no pace, but when he had the opportunity given to him by an amazing strategist, he took it
And he
so
didn't-
well,
and he didn't bin it.
held Bottas off, didn't bin it. Fair play.
He's going out there in treacherous-ish conditions.
Treacherous-ish.
Treacherous-ish conditions, and he made it work. I think
Yeah,
that's an A.
yeah,
That's an
yeah,
A for
fair,
Lance Stroll. Carlos Sainz.
A.
B.
B.
'cause
Spun.
He spun.
He spun.
Had to reverse out a barrier,
spun.
which he would
Terrible
have got.
driver.
He would have got.
So
a
did Max, and you gave him an A.
Yeah, but he did a nice little pirouette straight on.
He saved it
Sa-
with
Sainz
skills.
saved it.
Verstappen won the race.
I
I
think
just think-
Sainz would have got a podium potentially if he hadn't have made that mistake.
Sainz came from 15th
to fifth.
to 5th. Mid-race.
B.
After that.
A minus,
B and a half.
B and a half,
B.5.
half a B.
Half a B. Half an A. Okay. All right. I'll go with an A then. We'll outvote you, Tommy.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
I've never won.
I've never
Oh my
won.
God.
I've never won.
Amazing. Roman Grosjean.
Oh, are we missing
nowhere.
out?
What?
Albon.
Grosjean.
Albon.
Oh, sorry.
Albon.
I read Albon.
Oh.
Said in my head, oh, we've done that. Albon. Sorry.
A. He would have. He didn't have the same strategy as Kvyat, but he was up there.
To be fair, he was running
all
P4,
race,
P5
held Hamilton
most
off.
of the race. Yeah.
But are we just so impressed that we've actually got midfielders up as high as they are?
Yeah.
And are we just kind of getting bleary-eyed to the
You
fact
get
that
an A. You get an A. Yeah, I think so.
I think they all get an A.
but they were there because the top guys made mistakes.
And they beat
Yeah, and they're all getting Fs. So let's move on.
Yes.
This is going to be a very quick ABCDF1. Right. A,
I mean,
F.
Albon gets an A,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah,
you know.
Okay,
definitely.
all right.
Grosjean,
Where was
C.
he?
They
They
collided,
clashed
they
again.
clashed again.
And it was Grosjean on Magnussen this time? I think it was Grosjean diving. Magnussen.
No, Magnussen dived on Grosjean, and Magnussen was a little ambitious. Grosjean, any other driver might have turned out and gone, he's steaming into
He's
me
my
here,
teammate.
but he's my teammate, so I'll crash into him.
They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to separate them, aren't they?
Yeah.
But
I
they
think
try
naughty
and then,
children.
and then they still...
C for children.
Grosjean gets a...
They finished in
C.
the points.
I think
like
both of them
B.
C's.
Double. I think it was just good that they had double points finish for Haas.
7th and 8th is pretty good to say they've got no pace. So
Yeah.
You
So
got
I
no
was thinking
pace.
more-
you got no pace.
That's
But
an
you
old
still want to
meme,
give them a
innit?
C. You want to give them an average
Okay,
for scoring
fine,
points.
we'll give them a B, both of them.
No.
B for both
Why?
of them.
No, because they were lucky that they didn't take each other out. I think a C. You did your job. You came home in the points.
But their
that's
car's
it.
rubbish.
Yeah, but they just did their job.
Yeah. Yeah, C. Let's go C.
They're only
Whatever.
there because other people made
All right,
mistakes.
C's for both.
C, C.
Grosjean and Magnussen.
Yeah.
Hamilton.
I won again. Sorry, I just.
That was
And
very
for all
loud.
the deaf listeners now,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. It just gets my blood pumping when I.
Okay. Hamilton.
F.
U.
I think
Ooh, I
maybe
think
even
F.
you,
the best car in the grid and he
because
finishes ninth, and that was only because of two.
you know what really annoyed me
penalties.
as well, how he wanted to retire the car.
Did he?
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
begging
another
to,
time
he
at
was
Germany
begging
where he's-
to retire the
He's done
car.
that before at Germany.
I don't like that. I don't think that's like that's a
attitude.
rage quit.
It's a race.
That's a rage
We're
quit.
not having rage
We're not
quits.
having-
He's thrown his controller across the
You.
room.
You.
Hamilton, you're getting a U. I'm sorry. I know you're an avid listener, but U. Robert Kubica. I still want to give him like a D purely because he has got. I mean, how many people have DNF'd? We've had two 30-second penalties, and he gets 10th. Okay, not D, C.
But
B.
come on,
Give him a B.
they're still in a Williams.
Williams have finished every race, both of them.
And that's
Really?
what I
Seem to
mean.
do it,
but
yeah.
they were saying
Reliably slow.
I saw a bunch of articles saying that if Williams can just stay consistent and get all the data under their belts in terms of how the cars are performing and do test after test after test,
They'll be able to finish last every race.
That is how. And they can take advantage of times like this. Like, hopefully, this isn't the only wet race of the
With
season.
7 DNFs and two 30-second post-race penalties.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
No, but you know what? No, I think I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know, this
No,
is
fair
the
play to
only
them.
way that they can come back, and so they're doing their jobs, and
Yeah, they're
that
finishing the
must
race.
have been such a boost for the old Williams team. Although bad luck, George Russell.
Yeah.
I think that was
Russell
really
destroyed him in nearly every single race bar one, and then the
The one race, and he made a mistake as well, didn't he? He ran wide.
Yeah.
And what, and let Kubica
and let
through?
Kubica through. He was. It was only about 4 laps from the end. Made a mistake, and he has just been so good. He's been dominating Kubica.
And if he'd been able to make that call as well on the dries,
he might have been P7.
yeah.
You know,
But okay,
He
so
wasn't.
Kubica and Russell we're going to give B's then.
pair of B's.
Pair of B's.
Pair of B's.
Kimi Raikkonen.
had
How
an
did he finish
amazing
12th?
start. Absolutely,
When he got his penalty,
Oh, yeah.
he would have finished
amazing.
7th if it wasn't for the. I think a B
gonna
because
say,
he
yeah.
was up there. He survived the Slippy Boy.
He did.
One of the only drivers.
Surviving the Slippy Boy gets you grades like higher grades. I think that makes
No, I think he
you lower
gets
grades
it.
for going on the Slippy Boy.
No, but he did well.
Did you see?
He was amazing. I mean, he was third at the beginning of the race.
But did you
Yeah.
see the bit that made me go, "Oh my god, this is Kimi Raikkonen"? Was I forget what lap it was, but it was
Was it Magnussen and
Magnussen and
Vettel.
Vettel. So
Yeah, yeah.
it looks like Vettel is going to absolutely get both of them,
Send it.
and
that was close through turn one, by the way. That was very
that was
close. Kimi just turned in.
Yeah.
Coming through.
You can't go 3 cars wide into
Yeah.
turn one. Like, that's insane. And look, so he turned a position where it looked like he was going to get absolutely murked into.
Murked.
I don't know where I was going with
Safe,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
Into. Actually, he got
Yeah.
Magnussen.
I think that overtake
was amazing.
slightly overhyped purely because the fact Magnussen was on wet tyres and was so slow through turn 1. But I do get
but
it was
from Vettel
still awesome.
in a Ferrari,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
he
he
was
just turned
like,
into him and just hoped, God, please, Vettel, don't go any further up my inside or I'm getting munched.
Vettel's not as confident on the old
breakage.
breakage anymore.
Breaks.
So that's
But
probably
hey ho,
why as well.
Kimmy
But
did still have a
B.
very good race and
give him
got
a
screwed
B.
over by the team
I
a
think
little
a
bit.
B.
So yeah, B for Kimmy and Antonio, who finished just behind him.
See,
See,
he didn't
C.
do anything spectacular.
we didn't really
but
see
No,
him.
Didn't really see him, and he didn't.
He's one of the only drivers
He
that didn't really
cause
do
a safety
much.
car.
He didn't.
So
Well
Well
done,
done.
Giovinazzi. To be fair, he's been doing pretty well recently. I think
Yeah,
he's been qualifying quite well, and
Silverstone?
it's okay. Just recent times, not just Silverstone, poor guy. But yeah, I think generally from the start of the season to now, he's picked up his form a little bit and has been at least a match for Kimi in qualifying. And
yeah, I thought he
Still
was
the-
going to be one out the door in 5
Yeah,
races.
considering
he was.
first few races.
Yeah,
still,
but-
still the worst of the rookies, though.
Wow, Savage.
No, don't you agree?
Yeah,
No, I think Lando Norris is overrated.
We're going to clip that.
That's getting clipped.
That's
Oh,
getting
I'm so sorry. I was joking, Lando. Love you. Okay, now let's get to the DNFs. Pierre Gasly.
you.
Yeah.
Is there anything below a U?
I mean,
Don't bother turning up.
Just blank.
Don't bother turning up next weekend.
your teammate. It's like Austria. Your teammate
Won.
winning the race.
I guarantee he would have got lapped had it not been for the 24 safety cars we had.
Had he not crashed into the guy that people think might replace him, just to make things even worse.
Yeah, he's like, if I wipe him out, he won't look like he's really good.
Yeah.
He's very lucky, actually, Albon, to survive that
Yeah,
hoon
yeah.
up the backside, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Gasly we're giving
Gasly,
an ungradable.
And just that Red Bull have come out saying that they are adamant that Gasly's seat is safe for the rest of the 2019 season. Adamant.
We'll see after.
But
Hungary.
as-
It's one
well,
way
as we've said-
It's one way to put Max's price up, isn't it?
Well, that, and also they have mentioned nothing about 2020 and whether that will still be.
Oh God, no! I mean, 2020 is.
He's out the door.
Yeah,
he's gonna be like Ocon last year. He's gonna be set out with his
little bag.
His little bag.
Oh,
That'd be sad. But yeah, he'll need to have a little look at
But
the Formula One job centre very soon. Valtteri Bottas, F.
Yep.
Yep.
He failed.
He
oh,
failed.
Look at that! Look at that smile. Yep.
No, I was expecting
F.
a bit of a fight on that one, but
No,
No,
F.
F.
Yeah.
I mean, you've fastest car, bottled it. Nick Hülkenberg. Oh God! I mean, what do you even? How do you grade him?
D.
Okay,
He had the D for disastrous.
oh,
He had his chance.
okay,
Shine
sensitive
your
one.
blower.
Sensitive
next one. I'm not going to talk about. Charles Leclerc.
A D.
D as well. He
think
had
a
the
D.
pace. He could have won that race.
And when
could've
he
won,
when
yeah.
he was
D.
when it looked like he was going to catch Verstappen, I got really excited because I thought,
Sorry, can
Here
you
we
just
go again.
imagine my reaction when Crofty comes over and goes, "Oh, Charles, 3.2 seconds faster
Yeah.
than Hamilton on the last lap on his fresh into." So I'm like, what? And then that went well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Every time I
Did.
get excited that he's going to win, it goes.
he just needs to calm down a
terribly
bit.
wrong.
I think he's putting too much pressure on himself. I think he thinks, which he should do. He's an F1 driver, that he has the chance to win the championship, and he should be going into every race with that feeling.
It's something.
But it's almost like putting too much pressure on him.
And I don't think it helps that he's gone into a top team so early and it's Ferrari.
But so is Max.
Yeah, but Max isn't at Ferrari. Like the thing with Vettel is they keep saying, I know it's quite an excuse as well, but you've heard so much stuff, and even Helmut Marko himself has said the pressure at Ferrari is so much different to Red Bull. Look
Yeah.
what Vettel's doing in a Red Bull. Look what he's doing at a Ferrari now. Leclerc has gone into a top team, and there is so much pressure
It's
on
like
Ferrari.
because I guess like Red Bull are still, even though they are the third best team, they're still that underdog. So whenever Max does something amazing, it's not expected. So we
Exactly.
all just go, "Oh my god, you're amazing!"
Yeah.
And
Whereas Ferrari,
it's
if they
expected.
if Ferrari are the third best car that day, it's not accepted like it is at Red Bull. Everyone just goes, "Oh, Ferrari have bottled
Yeah.
it again. What are they doing? They should be fighting Mercedes."
Yeah, they
It's-
don't.
it's-
Red Bull
yeah.
don't have that weight of expectation. It's almost
Exactly.
like they're in that really comfortable position where they're third fastest, they're within touching distance of the top two teams,
Definitely
but
with
also
Ferrari,
have
yeah.
enough of a cushion to the guys behind that even if Max was to have a reasonably bad race, he's still going to finish fifth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a nice position, especially with Max having the whole team around him as well
Yeah.
to support him. Lando Norris. I mean, we can't really
Ungradable.
rate it because,
He's just
but not in a bad way, just
No.
ungradable in terms of we can't
He
really.
didn't have a good quali.
He didn't have a good
No.
quality.
quality
Out in
tweet.
Q1.
He had an okay race start.
Let me in.
That tweet was so funny. I
He gets-
genuinely
he gets
burst
points
out
for that.
laughing at that when I saw it. 'cause
Let me
it was just,
in. We
it was
love
just
that gif though, yeah,
hilarious,
don't
yeah.
we? But yeah, Lando had a poor qualifying, and you know he didn't have much to say in the race because he broke down. So
Pretty early on as well. Not
Ungradable.
ungradable is in.
I
not
think
you,
ungradable-
but just
Yeah.
we cannot grade you. I'm
Kind of
sorry,
great.
Lando.
And the next guy is the same.
Daniel Ricciardo.
He
Yeah.
wasn't up there with Hockenberg at the start, but you never know. It's one of those races where I do feel really sorry for Lando and Ricciardo. And Ricciardo put something on his Instagram a bit less memeable than Lando that was saying like, "I wish I was in that race."
Yeah, he was saying as a spectator, it looked amazing.
What a race! I'm so gutted I wasn't in that.
You can't
because-
help but think that maybe Daniel could have converted that into a podium.
Yeah, because Ricciardo's one of
100%.
those people that
Yeah,
takes advantage of those kind of conditions. So
Yeah.
it's a shame that he was out because I reckon he would have sent it. But
he would have been.
we'll never know,
We'll never know.
unfortunately. And Perez F. Bottled it, binned it.
Can I
Binned
just
it.
say I was I was typing to Dan on Slack, our editor. This race has Sergio Perez podium written all over it, and as I was about to send, he binned it. In the
No.
So I jinxed him. I'm so sorry for that.
Incredible. Right, that's the end of ABT DF1. Let's get on to predictions that we had for Germany.
Oh,
now,
yikes.
one of my predictions is one of the most inaccurate things I've ever written in my entire life. So my first prediction was it will be even more boring than France. And
Minus
wow.
10.
I am so glad that you're wrong.
I'm
Yeah,
glad. I wanted to be wrong.
yeah,
I
yeah.
said it when I said I want to be wrong. And the other one, I'm going to get a full wholesome point for Lance Stroll will reach Q2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you
Well
very
played.
much.
First
Jess,
time in 15 races.
your first one.
Was there will be talk about not having a German Grand Prix again.
They said that a lot.
They said it multiple times.
So that's one whole point. You're actually writing them down. I see
Yeah.
that. And I think your next one was wrong. I think it was 87%.
It was coverage will be 90% Mercedes and they're 125 years in the sport, which it was.
I mean, 90% of the race was Hamilton's pit stop, wasn't it? So
But we were, Tommy, you found that amazing thing on, was it on Reddit where
Yes.
somebody had shown quali and how much of the coverage was just Mercedes.
yeah. So shout out to
what was it? Yeah,
this
you
user
describe it.
on Reddit who had cut it was almost like a case study, and they'd taken 2 minutes of qualifying, and they'd when the on-track action was on, they would have like a timer, and it would be a person doing a fast lap, person that's on an in lap, and when it's not showing the
So off-track action.
off-track, so they're
So
showing
in the
Leclerc
garage
getting out of his
or-
car or
Yeah.
fans or whatever. And there was more off-track and in laps than there were fast laps. So when they showed Bottas and Hamilton doing their first laps, and while Verstappen was doing his lap that put him P2, they were showing Bottas and Hamilton on slowdown laps
Wow.
for the
Okay.
entire time.
All right, so
So-
that's a
Yeah.
full point
I
then
get
for
a full
Jess.
point. I win this round. I'm winning again.
You're winning everything today, Jess. And Tommy, your two?
Hamilton and Bottas will drive old school Mercedes cars.
They
Did they
did.
do that?
Did?
I think they did. Maybe
They did it
not.
they did it
they
on
didn't-
Sky, didn't they?
And they drove. Lewis and Toto drove DTM cars,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool.
Very cool.
I thought I was going to have to beg for that point, but that was
No.
great.
Your
I'll
other
give it
one
to
is
you.
very wrong.
Yeah, they didn't remove the Rich Energy branding at all after
Pass.
the meltdown. Everyone, when they changed their name to Lightning something,
Volt.
everyone
Lightning
was
Bolt, yeah.
going,
When people made, like,
you're
fake
going to get
accounts
a point for that. But
There you go.
Nope.
0 points. So
There are
points.
so
53,
many
4 in total.
parody accounts
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, it's
I think after
ridiculous.
nothing will happen really until after the summer break, will it?
No.
No.
We'll see what happens.
Fans, Veloce Esports. If Jess stops typing, I'll be able to read it. Because it comes up with your name above where it.
Oh,
so
sorry.
It's just said Jess McFadden forecast will continue. So the
Sorry.
weather forecast will continually say rain is coming during the race, but it never will.
Yep.
That is completely wrong. Sorry,
There was a
Justin.
lot of rain.
An AS 19534534003 says the commentators will reference Vettel's crash about 172 times.
I think it was 170.
70,
Oh,
yeah,
close.
just missed.
No
just
points.
missed out.
No, we'll give you that one.
Half it.
Half a point, yeah.
Pista_CSI, both Haas will DNF again. No,
Incorrect.
Close.
Close.
They both nearly wiped
They
each other
tried
out.
very hard.
They were like, I want to do it for Pista. But unfortunately, they survived. Now, predictions for Hungary. I am going to go with my 2 now. So Gasly will beat Verstappen in the race. Doesn't matter how it happens. Hey, last time I said it, he got out-qualify him. Did he? Yes. And Kubica will finish over 30 seconds behind Russell.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those.
Wait,
Is
you've
that
gone
'cause
for...
Is that 'cause he DNFs?
And then my third one is it'll be race week.
Wow.
I cannot tell you.
Oh, I forgot to say my third race is going to be it's race week. Yeah, say it. It's race week.
Jess hates, the term race week, so we've decided, well, especially Tommy.
Can I explain why I hate race week?
Please.
You hate F1, don't you?
I hate F1. No, I don't.
Okay.
The thing for me is, one, what does it even mean?
It means the race is on this week.
Right. We call it a race weekend, right? Not a race week. And 2, every single account that has anything to do with racing will post on a Monday, it's race week. And it's just, for me, it's the laziest form of content creation ever, because they can just post whatever they want. Image of the cars, race week. Like, it doesn't matter. It just, and our feeds
started to meme it themselves now. But
yeah,
I do agree.
but it
I do
is
agree
just
with you.
so
While I like
irritating.
to take the piss, I do agree that it's just lazy.
And that's
Like,
why
it's just like-
if you ever see it, please do tag Jess in every
Please
single
do
post you
not.
see.
Yes.
I've had so much this week, it's insane.
Yeah, and it's going to be race year for you now. So,
Great.
Jess, you've only got one prediction on this document.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Do you want to read that one?
I'm gonna have to think. I'm gonna have to think on my feet. There will only be one Mercedes on the podium.
Okay.
Read that as you will,
I wonder who Jess thinks is going to be on the podium.
or not on the
Valtteri
podium.
Bottas.
Yeah, of course.
And your second one, spitballing.
Right, Hungary. What happened last year?
Okay, let's just
Shall
think.
I do
Tommy,
mine?
you do yours.
Oh no, go. Charles will DNF.
Oh, you said you weren't going to.
I'm
You
gonna
put
do
that
it.
in and you deleted it.
Well, there you
Oh.
go. Charles will DNF.
Oh, that's disgusting. Right.
Sorry.
Mine will be that Verstappen's going to win again, but there'll be really over-ambitious talk about him being a title challenger, because it'll go that he'll win and then they'll go into summer break and it'll be like, oh, he's won 3 of the last 4 races.
Yeah.
Can he do it? And I don't think he will. I think he'll finish second in the total, but
Okay.
I don't think he's going to do it.
I genuinely think if he does win another race in Hungary, he does put himself as a title challenger.
Because I think Singapore is another really good opportunity.
And
for
he always
them.
wins Mexico as well, doesn't he? So
Red
Yeah.
Bull are unreal
He
in
was
the
so
last few
good,
races. 4 or
yeah.
5 races, they are really good.
So
So
maybe-
I can't
maybe it's
deal with
not-
the excitement if it happens.
if I would love to see Verstappen challenging for the title because he will send it.
I'll lose my shit.
Well, didn't we say at the beginning of the season, like, it would be really cool if it was Hamilton and Leclerc battling for the title. Sorry, Vettel.
Yeah.
But it would be really, really cool to see them. But I would definitely settle for a Hamilton Verstappen.
That's not settling.
That's not settling,
That
is
is
it?
even better, I
It's even
think.
better, yeah, 100%, because Hamilton said himself that he is Verstappen's the only one that he sort of gives racing room to and fears a little bit.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. It's
That'd
good.
be cool.
And your second
Uh,
one, which I think you deserve 2 points if this comes true.
Lando will finish P4.
Whoa.
Because it's got variables. It's
yeah,
good.
I think he'll be out there.
Okay, so the fans, MUFC_Jake_Dart says both Renaults to DNF again. Lafayman says Verstappen will finally get pole.
Ooh.
And Darkened, it rains again, please.
Now it's forecasting rain on Friday,
But not Saturday or Sunday.
but I last time I looked, there was a 10% chance of rain on Sunday.
I will
It
take
could
any chance of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I'm honest.
it could change, but I think it's going to be unlikely. But it rains again, please. That Friday, technically, it's raining, and that's a session. So
Well, to be fair, we have seen good races from practice
Having
being
crap.
completely ruined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that can help, hopefully, maybe.
Okay.
Hungary does need some help, I think, for good racing, because we've seen a little bit of boring ones
Yeah, but
in recent
they've
years.
had a few wet races recently at Hungary and they've been really good. So
here we
Yeah.
go.
rain,
Bottas
please.
just smashed into everyone last
Either
year,
that
didn't he? So-
or let's just get the sprinklers out.
Yeah, Bernie.
Bernie was on something.
He
there,
was
wasn't
onto
he?
something. We all laughed at him, but genuinely we're kind
Or
of
just
coming around
put
to it.
slippy drag strips.
Slippy drags in the dry
everywhere.
as well. Just ice rinks.
Yeah,
Just
ice rinks.
goodness me, please. Right, that is it. We are done here for the German Grand Prix. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, whatever you're doing. Whatever platform you're listening on, please give us a 5-star review because we are the best people in the world for you.
Are we? Are we really?
No, but just give us 5 stars because we need it, please. Help. But yeah, comment, what you thought of the podcast as well. And that is it from myself, Jess and Tommy.
Yeah.
We'll see you in only a few days' time for the Hungarian Grand Prix, where hopefully we'll have 4 out of 4 bangers.
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
And Mash, and you're going to be there for the whole weekend, or
I want to be in Budapest already. Yeah,
you're going to see the race live?
I am.
Oh my goodness me! Well, there you go.
When do you go?
I leave tomorrow.
So you'll be there for the race week.
And that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye before Tommy dies.
I'm going to kill you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Race week. Race week.
Stop
It's race week. Race
Stop
week. It's race week. It's race week. It's race of the week. Race of the week. Race week. Race week. Race of the week.